What if I told you that one of the most well-known rockers scammed the entire world with a camera angle? The dude was on every TV screen in America. He had the sneer, he had the fist pumping, dripping with attitude. But the whole time he was holding back a scream. He wasn't dancing, he was barely standing. His leg was held together by a metal rod. The directors turned a hospital patient into a superstar. Here's how Billy Idol rocked the Cradle of Love without having a leg to stand on. So it's February 1990. Billy Idol is living the life. He's in Hollywood. He's got a new album coming out called Charm Life, and the title is ironic. You'll see why in a second. Billy loves motorcycles. Loves his Harley Davidson. It's a big, loud, wide glide bike. Totally fits his vibe. He rides it everywhere. He feels invincible. He's a rock star in LA. Traffic laws are for other people. Stop signs are just suggestions. This is the mindset. It's a Tuesday morning, February 6th. The time's around 8:30 a.m. and Billy's on his bike. He's cruising through Hollywood, approaches a stop sign, and he ignores it. A car is coming through the intersection. Now, the car has the right of way. The driver does not expect a platinum blonde rock star to shoot out in front of him. The car hits the bike broadside. This is not a fender bender. This is physics winning an argument. Billy goes flying. He hits the pavement hard. He's not wearing a helmet. He hits the ground and he's out cold. The silence is loud, and then the pain wakes him up. He's lying in the street. He tries to move, but he can't. Looks down at his legs. He's wearing jeans, or was wearing jeans. Now the denim is ripped open, and the damage is really bad. It's not just a break. The bone has actually punched through the skin. The muscle is gone. The reports say the muscle was shredded, and not shredded in a way one would hope to be. His lower right leg is basically mashed potatoes. So the cops arrive, the paramedics arrive, they take one look at the leg and they get grim. They load him up. They rush in the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. The doctors there see a whole hell of a lot of trauma. They see car wrecks every day. And they look at Billy's leg and they're not sure. They talk about amputation. They think the leg is trash. And the consensus was that they would actually have to cut it off below the knee. And Billy's awake for some of this. He remembers the scissors. The nurses cut his clothes off. They cut through the leather and denim. The pain is absolute. 10 out of 10. Feels like he's dying. He actually thinks he's going to die on that table. And the surgeons make a choice. They decide to try and save the leg. So they go into surgery. And they're in there for 7 hours. It's a long time to be under the knife. They're not just setting a bone. They're literally rebuilding a limb. They have to actually put the pieces back together. They use hardware. They shove a steel rod down the center of the bone. They use plates, they use screws, they bolt on his leg into a shape that resembles a leg. He wakes up in the recovery room. He has a leg, that's the good news. The bad news is that he is trashed. He's in a hospital bed, he's weak, in agony. The doctors tell him the reality, that he's not going to walk for a long time. He may not even ever walk again. The nerves are damaged, the muscle is gone, the steel rod is doing all the work. So Billy lies there, staring at the ceiling, thinks about his bike. The bike is totaled. Thinks about his leg, and the leg is a science experiment. Thinks about his album. The album is done. It's sitting there waiting to be released. And the timing is terrible. The promotional tour is weeks away. You can't tour in a hospital bed. You can't jump around a stage with a steel rod in your shin. The pain meds kick in. He drifts off, but the reality is waiting for him when he wakes up. He ran a stop sign, and he definitely paid the price. The price was his mobility. So now he's a prisoner in his own body. The road to recovery is not a road, it's a wall. So the physical pain is bad, but the career pain is even worse. Billy Idol was about to be a movie star. Not an exaggeration. He was hot in Hollywood. Directors wanted his face. They wanted that sneer. He had a look that cameras were ready to just be tuned in on. And James Cameron had a plan. He was making a sequel to The Terminator, called The Terminator 2 Judgment Day. You know this movie. It's a classic. Cameron had a specific role for Billy. He wanted him to be the villain. Wanted him to play the T-1000, the liquid metal guy, the shapeshifter. Think about that. Billy Idol running after Arnold Schwarzenegger. Billy Idol turning his hands into knives. It totally makes sense. He already has those synthetic looks. He totally looked the part. And it was a done deal. The storyboards were drawn. The concept art looked like him. It was going to be his big break, or at least bigger than the break he's already had. And it was going to make him a household name outside of music. It was going to make him millions, but then he hit the car. James Cameron hears about the accident, hears about the leg. The role of the T-1000 requires running, a lot of sprinting, strict physical stunts, and Billy can't even walk to the bathroom. He certainly can't chase a police car on foot. So Cameron has to move on. He can't wait for the bone to knit, so he casts Robert Patrick instead. And Robert Patrick does a killer job. But Billy loses the role of a lifetime. He watches the movie later, sees the T-1000, knows that should have been him, and that hurts more than the screws in his leg. And it gets worse. Oliver Stone is making a movie. It's called The Doors, about Jim Morrison. Oliver Stone wants Billy in the movie. He has a big part for him. He wants him to play Tom Baker. It's a key role, meaty role, requires acting, and it definitely requires moving around. Billy's excited. This is his chance to be a serious actor. Then the crash happens. Oliver Stone gets the news. Can't use a guy on crutches. The shooting schedule is tight. Stone cuts the role down, and he gives Billy a bit part. Billy plays Cat, basically a drinking buddy. Sits around. He has crutches in the movie. It's not acting, it's reality. Just a crippled guy in the background. So Billy loses 2 major films in 1 week. His acting career is DOA. He's stuck in bed at the hospital. His agent's trying to figure out what the hell to do. The insurance companies are calling. Lawyers are calling. The money's going out. Hospital bills are massive. Surgery costs a fortune. Rehab will cost even more. Billy needs income. He needs to work. But his job is being a rock star. Rock stars need to move. They need to strut. They need to jump off of drum risers. Billy can't even stand up to Pete. So the album Charmed Life is sitting on a shelf at the record label. The executives are nervous. They spent money on his record. They need a hit. And they need a music video. And this is 1990. MTV is everything. If you don't have a video, you don't exist. You can't just release a song on the radio and hope for the best. You need the visuals. You need Billy Idol's face on the screen every hour. So the label calls Billy. They ask him how he's doing. He tells them he's pretty damn messed up. Tells him the cast goes up to his thigh and that he's in constant pain. And the label, well, being a typical label, they don't care. They need a video and they need it right now. So they picked a single. It's called Cradle of Love, and it's a catchy song. Has a good beat. It's a rock anthem. Aged a bit like Milk, but at the time it was pretty big. Needs a high energy video. Needs dancing, sex appeal. It needs Billy Idol being Billy Idol. The label hires a director, David Fincher. He made Fight Club. He made Seven. But back then, he was a video guy. He was a stylist. He was the guy you called when you had a problem. And this turned out to be a big problem. The star of the video was broken. And Fincher had to figure it out. He had to make a cripple look like a king. So David Fincher shows up and assesses the situation. He sees Billy. Billy's a mess. He's got that steel rod, has the cast, and he's sitting in a chair. Looks pale, still recovering from major trauma, and he's not ready for a close-up. But Fincher is smart. He doesn't panic. He looks at the constraints. Constraint number 1, Billy cannot walk. Constraint number 2, Billy cannot stand for long periods. Constraint number 3, the video still has to look exciting somehow. So Fincher hatches an idea. It is a cheat, a hack, a brilliant cheat. He decides to make Billy a piece of art, literally. He designs a set. It's a fancy apartment. It's modern, sleek. On the walls of this apartment, there are frames, big, expensive picture frames, but they are not for paintings. They are for Billy. Fincher decides to film Billy separately, and then he'll put Billy inside the frames. He'll make him a living portrait. This solves the leg problem. If you are a head in a frame, nobody asks where your legs are. Nobody asks why you aren't dancing. So they build the set, they set up the green screens, they wheel Billy in, they have to help put him into position, and he's stiff and his leg is throbbing, and they prop him up, light him up perfectly, use shadows to hide his neck, use bright lights to wash out the pain in his eyes, and they frame him from the chest up. Strictly waist-up shots. No wide shots or full-body shots. Camera focuses on his face, on his mouth. The sneer is still there. The platinum hair is still there, and the attitude is the only thing that isn't broken. And Billy starts to perform. Sings the songs, moves his shoulders, pumps his fists, creates the illusion of movement. Jerks his head, looks energetic, but below the frame he's totally static. He's planted, putting all his energy into his upper body. And it's exhausting. He's sweating, the lights are hot, pain in his leg is constant, standing still is harder than moving when you have a broken limb. Gravity's pulling on the screws, and the blood is rushing to the injury. But he keeps going. He's a pro. He knows the camera is lying for him. And Fincher directs him. More face, more hands. He cuts quickly. Doesn't let the camera linger. He knows that if you stare at a still object too long, it looks dead. So he keeps the cuts fast, creates a rhythm. Uses the editing room to create the energy that Billy's body just can't provide. Treats Billy more like a special effect. Billy's not a person in the video, he's a graphic element, a logo, kind of disembodied head singing about love. And the crew knows the truth. They see the crutches off to the side, the wheelchair, the grimace on Billy's face when the director yells cut, see him collapse back in the chair, and of course the painkillers he has to take. But on the monitor, it looks pretty spot on. Billy looks like a giant, looks powerful, looks like he's controlling the room. The magic of cinema is working. They are, in effect, erasing the accident, erasing the stop sign, and that steel rod. Fincher adds another layer. He decides to treat the footage, makes it grainy, kind of static, makes it look more like a transmission. This helps hide the lack of movement, also adds some texture, makes the stillness look intentional, makes it look artsy. It's not artsy though, it's necessary. It's the only way to get the shot. Fincher is turning a disaster into a style, taking the liability and calling it an aesthetic choice. But he needs more. He knows a singing head is not enough for 4 minutes. He needs action, a body that works. So Fincher casts out for a good distraction. He needs somebody to do the things that Billy just can't do. So he casts Betsy Lynn George. 18 years old, she is a dancer, and she is the opposite of Billy right now. She's flexible, fast, full of energy. Fincher builds the story around her. Now she's the main character. Billy's just the narrator. The story is simple. Betsy plays a neighbor. She knocks on a door. A guy answers. Businessman. He looks pretty typical, kind of boring and stiff. Betsy asks him to play a tape. She puts in Cradle of Love. And then she goes crazy, starts dancing. Not just dancing, she's tearing the room apart. Flipping her hair, sliding on the floor, jumping on the furniture. She's doing the splits, pouring wine on herself. It's pure chaos. She's the physical manifestation of the song. And the camera loves her. Fincher films her from every angle. Films her legs, films her spinning, captures all the motion that Billy is missing. She's basically the stunt double for Billy's vibe. And the businessman is the foil. He tries to ignore her, tries to work, but the music is too loud. The girl is too much. The apartment gets trashed. The wind blows. Papers fly everywhere. It's a storm. And watching over it all is Billy. He's in the frames on the wall. He's on the TV screen. And he's egging her on. He's the voice in her head. And the editing connects them. Betsy spins. Cut to Billy sneering. Betsy kicks. Cut to Billy yelling. Looks like a duet. Totally in sync. But they're in different worlds. She's in a physical space and he's in a box. So the video is finished. The label loves it. They send it to MTV. MTV puts it into heavy rotation. They play it every hour, and the kids watch it. They see the girl. They see Billy. They think it's cool. They think it's sexy. And they have no idea. They watch Billy in the frames, and they think, wow, cool concept. They don't think, wow, that guy's leg is hamburger. So the illusion ended up working perfectly. The video becomes a smash hit, saves the album. Charmed Life goes platinum. Song climbs the charts, goes to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. So yeah, definitely a huge success. The video wins awards, wins Best Video from a Film at the MTV Video Music Awards. Billy goes to the award show. He has to limp, has to use a cane. People see him and they're totally confused. They saw the video, he looked fine in that. He explains it away, says it's an old injury, downplays it to keep the myth alive, doesn't want pity or glory. The video did its job, it protected the brand, it sold the lie. But there's another layer of mess. The song was tied to a movie. The movie was The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, starring Andrew Dice Clay. At the time, Dice was banned from MTV. MTV hated him. They refused to show his face. But the contract said the video had to promote the movie. Fincher had to include clips from the film, but he couldn't show Dice. So he cut around him. He used shots of the car, shots of the other actors, shots of the scenery. Made a music video for a movie without showing the main actor, starring a singer who couldn't walk. And if that's not pure genius, well, I'm surprised. It was a house of cards, a disaster waiting to happen, but it held up. The public bought it. They watched Betsy Lynn George dance and they fell in love. They watched Billy Idol sneer and they felt the rock and roll. Nobody noticed the static framing. Nobody noticed the lack of legs or the pain behind the eyes. It was the perfect scam. Billy Idol pulled off the greatest magic trick in rock history, with the help of a very savvy director, I might add. He made the world believe that he was standing tall when he was flat on his back. And he also proved that you don't need legs to kick ass, you just need a very good editor. The tour eventually happened. Billy healed. The bone did knit together. Muscles scarred over. He learned to walk again, learned to run again, got back on stage, played Cradle of Love live, ran around and jumped and proved that he was back. But if you look closely at the video today, you could see it. The stiffness, the isolation. A dude trapped in a picture frame because the real world was too damn painful to stand in at the time. So the video stands as a document of survival, a document of a very bad day on a motorcycle, and proof that in Hollywood, the show must go on, even if you have to glue the star back together to do it. Smack the subscribe button, smack the like button, smack the hype button, join the family. To my subs, thank you so much. You were awesome. To my patrons, who watch all the crazy stuff I can't put here on YouTube, you also are awesome. And thank you all so much for watching.